I play guitar and Hiraki. And that's actually the funny part about this, because actually I'm the only one not singing in Hiraki. But for some reason in John Cxnnor, the two brothers, Rasmus and Meejah, they wanted all of us to join. So in fact, the first time in my life I was on stage with a microphone was at Roskilde Festival, a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
In front of, I don't know, 2,000 people or how many fits in that tent. And that was quite scary, I have to say.
Yeah.
Because normally I play guitar.
Yeah. And I do the screaming.
And you do the screaming.
I do the screaming.
So John Cxnnor took the wrong screamer.
No, it was kind of like not that it was either all of Hiraki or none of Hiraki, but it was kind of you all have to scream if you want to be a part of this. So two just jumped headfirst into it and said, "Yeah, fuck it, let's just do it." And actually found out he has a massive scream.
All right.
Yes.
True. And I'm Tim. I play drums in HIRAKI and also do backing vocals in HIRAKI. Yes.
And then we have made that you have your own band with
Andreas.
Andreas.
And I play the guitar.
And in Meejah I sing, and I play guitar, sometimes keys, and then gongs and singing bowls and Tibetan bells.
So, how did it happen to become part of this collective? I know that Katie and Erasmus, they were already part of several bands and they were already collaborating a lot with the reality norms. But for you, maybe it was already through the show and for the type of music you do. But for you, it was something different. So would you like to maybe tell me a bit of the story, or how you feel it happening, or when it happened for you to become part of this?
You became part first with John Cxnnor. Maybe you can tell that story.
Yeah, but it was actually because we played with LLN, like the other bands that Rasmus and Meejah they have, and out of that we were to do an album and we really wanted to have reworks made of it, and they were just starting out with this John Cxnnor thing, and we found it quite interesting because they're hugely creative guys, and everything they touch just has something crisp to it.
Yeah.
So we were like, in a way, not forcing them, but asking them whether they could actually, or whether they were interested in doing a rework of one of our tracks. And they were.
They were, yeah. And that's how it suddenly started, that they started to ask us if we wanted to participate in doing some vocals for a track with them called Bonkers.
Yeah.
And we contributed that.
Yeah, they literally said, okay, we have this rework, this one where there's actually only Jung's vocals on. We have this instrumental track. How about you making some vocals for that? If you do that, you can come play Roskilde Festival with us.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, yeah.
Not a bad thing.
And we
Not
were-
at all.
sorry.
And that means Bunkers was also one of the first singles. So your collaboration has been one of the longest with this project, and definitely one of the most fruitful in terms of single release and track release as John Cxnnor. So
Yeah, and then we played several shows with them, also here at Ideal Bar, where they did their immersive sound concerts. And I think why they like us, because we always say yes.
yeah.
They call us the mafia from Jutland, and we always say yes. We just say, yeah, we'll fix it. And then we look at each other afterwards and say, oh, fuck, what are we doing here, man? It's just, for instance, Bonkers, it's a quite hard track, right?
Yeah.
Remember, that strays somewhat from what we ever done before.
Yeah, it's one of the most purely John Cxnnor type of sound.
Yeah.
Then Kim with more Camille and many other, but it's definitely one that really defined the type of sound that it started with. What about you? Because now we have also the Wi-Fi.
We were actually standing in the audience at the Roskilde Festival gig and caught two tumbling down the stage. You tumbled down on our heads and we helped you back on stage.
Yes.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot,
you're
yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, I fell over the monitor. That was the thing.
Oh.
Came running in and it was just dark, and I was just like totally high on adrenaline and just slammed my foot, and then
Yeah.
fell in the audience, and then Andreas and I,
Yeah, the rest, so they got
Unintentional stage dive.
Yeah.
But maybe the touch of God, maybe
Yeah.
that's where it was written in stone.
Touch of
that-
touch of Meejah.
Yeah.
You're the savior.
Actually, we were standing in the audience at, maybe, was it the first gig?
Yes,
It was a crazy, high, energetic gig.
Yeah.
But Devil's Trade was also a part of the gig.
Exactly.
And he has more sort of folk, root, shamanic, in my interpretation, components in his artistic work. So I actually remember looking up at the stage, hearing him in
Yeah.
that universe, and thinking to myself, I think they should ask me. I never told Rasmus and Katie that, but that's actually how my mind started to go in that direction. And I didn't tell anybody, maybe you. 4 months later, Rasmus called me.
Wow, perfect.
Yeah.
And congratulations, because the latest single from John Cxnnor is Shadow Walker, which is your song.
Yeah.
So you did very well, and you really achieved also to give a strong contribution to the current track list of this project. So how was for you to become part of this collective? Was it natural, or you had to rethink a bit maybe your style or your singing for this?
I think Rasmus and Katie called at that point because the first gigs with John Cxnnor were very sort of bonkers. Literally bonkers. But then they got hired for a commission project at Roadburn Festival.
Yeah.
And it was a project that was meant to open the main stage
Yeah.
in a closed, huge venue, but with a high level of concentration.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they thought of me being a part of that show, together with Victor from Ice, and then Andreas Gilbert from Cabell, and then Keith.
Yeah. Listening the music of your main band, you seems to have a more like Nordic ambient and Asian style. You have a very different way to communicate and to compose compared to what is the typical sound of LL, Carval or HIRAKI or many others. So how was to be thrown into this dystopic universe of Terminator and screamers and so on?
I think it was a great challenge,
Mm.
but also just being able to bring the other side of the universe, sort of embodying Sarah Connor instead of John Connor and the Terminators. And that character has a toughness to her, but also a huge vulnerability. And especially in Terminator 1, we see the relationship with John Connor's dad, was called Kyle Reese or something like that. And the Terminator movies are also sort of a testament to the development of Sarah Connor.
Indeed.
Even though John Connor, of course, is the main character. So I was quite honored to be asked, and also bring some kind of feminine part of the story to the project.
Yes.
Yeah, you have a short part in Common Commerce in your act, but there is more masculine energy in this moment, at least of the project.
Yes.
Which helps Satan, of course.
I remember after the Roskilde gig, we also talked about, because the live gig had such a insane energy, but also they should get a woman or two.
Exactly.
And then we're like, they should get you, and like to play Sarah Connor. And then it happened.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and it really needs that. I think it so easily gets all this.
Totally agree.
Like, but actually, that's where it's really. I think the boundaries are being pushed from how can you actually derive from that straight path, because it's so obvious to an extent, right? But yeah.
So there's been Roskilde, there has been a Roadburn Festival with only Kim, if I well remind. and then happened Copenhagen with all of you. So Copenhagen was your maybe one of your first act or big act with John Cxnnor?
No, that was great.
One, two, okay.
Because they said, sorry, that Copenhagen was like the greatest hits, because that was all of those
Right.
who like were on at Roskilde. Actually, it was the first Bo version.
Yeah.
No, he was not there, right? No, he was not. No. Yeah, David was not there anyway. But that was like everybody together, so that was like, and now it couldn't be more crazy, except for today, because yeah.
So I was to be in Copenhagen in this very, rainy night, but very sunny night, all together on the same stage, having to rotate so quickly, having this strange audience still, because Roskilde is quite diverse, roadborne to Copenhagen it's a bit more narrow, especially that year it was experimental but still narrow metal culture. Did it felt the same? Did it felt different? How was the connection with the people in that show?
I think both shows actually, the audience were very inviting. They showed up and were very engaged and wanted to make this the best concert in their lives, and we could feel that energy up on stage at both Roskilde and Copenhagen.
Yeah.
They just came to party, and it was crazy.
Yeah. And now you have almost a full sold out Vega, so over 500 people. I'm not sure how much is the capacity, but it's a very big venue. So I'm very sure that it's more than that, and we are looking for a big show.
It was, I remember Rasmus and Kisser, they talked about that it was somewhat brave of Copenhagen to book an act like John Cxnnor, but I would say no, because Copenhagen needs this if it wants to be still vibrant somehow, and not just book the same bands as the same oldies that has played for a million years, right? And
Yeah,
so
it kind of hit the right spot, I think,
Yes.
at that time, because a long day with a lot of concerts, mainly in the metal, hardcore, and punk vibe, and then just coming to a show where you can just like go totally primal, and you still have kind of the metal feel to it, but you also have the techno and the vibe, and you could see all those metalheads just pumping fists in the air and just kind of letting loose in another way than you would at a normal metal show. Yeah.
I totally agree. I mean, I also feel like the lineup in 2024 was extremely interesting. More in the underground, more in the experimental, but absolutely interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, we are sorry people didn't saw Iron Maiden, they can see another time. So
exactly. And it was pouring rain, right? Half an hour before the show, it just started, and that really divided the audience in those who wanted to come and see it maybe, and those who wanted to stay, right? Because somebody said, okay, let's do it another time, right? But those who were there, they were really there, right? Don't give a fuck about that they were.
But the lasers look great.
Yeah, the lasers
yeah.
look great in the forest and with the rain and everything. It was just, it was good. Yeah.
And also because it kind of embraces a lot of elements, because you have like techno and hardstyle and industrial and metal, and so it's almost kind of for everybody. You could tap into some part of the show and think this is really cool, or this is shit, or this is shit, but this is really cool. So I think it kind of taps into a lot of people, and also very diverse audience that came there as well.
Indeed, it was very diverse. There was something for everybody. We went from Coven type of sludgy metal to something completely different, the electronics, and I really like what you did with the gong and with the drums. It was very nice to have also some more organic elements. I'm not so sure it's metallic, but organic elements did to the show, and also what they did with Club Satan with their drumming. I think it was a very good blend.
Yes.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Coming a bit to your personal music, as we were commenting, HIRAKI already have quite a dystopic vision. The music you do already line very well with the dystopic future of Terminator.
Yes.
So, just a perfect match. And what did you learn from this, and what did they learn from you?
but to somewhat, John Cxnnor, to some extent, John Cxnnor is like the extreme version of HIRAKI, right?
Yeah.
They're just more like fall to the floor and just more like, okay, it's just
I think the energy is the same.
somewhat, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also why they.
And the angerness.
Just in another
If that's
another
a
setting.
word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when they asked us, they have of course seen our shows a couple of times, and I think they connected with that angerness or anger that we bring to the stage. They wanted to add that to their show, of course, and yeah.
It could have been easy taking the universe of Terminator to go back to the 80s and 90s. But beside of the surface, there's a lot of actuality also in the themes that are described, where the more feminist side, maybe with the Witch Club Satan, but also your Common Coma. It sounds a very today type of song,
We
right?
just talked about that actually.
It was actually written to a very specific presidential administration that suddenly came back. So in that way, it kind of resonates.
So it just happened that past come back present,
Yeah.
so now you are back on the top of the wave.
Right back at it again.
Yeah,
4
right.
years later.
We talked about, you said it yourself, the irony is in singing these words, it seems even more bitter right now. The grin is even more present now because everybody feels it now. Whoa, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Also just the shift from doing the gig at Leisure Fest 4 months ago,
Yeah.
and then today,
Yeah.
it's the meaning behind the lyrics is
Yeah.
even worse
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, it sounds very contemporary in that
Yeah.
sense, like the contents are there.
Sadly, it does, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, in that way, the lyrically, the universe fits very well, exactly,
Yeah.
with John Cxnnor, and also it's very fun to also make it fit in some other way, because some of the songs were actually made before and then fit it into the John Cxnnor universe, and also something that we really like doing and really have come to appreciate a lot, to being like a normal three-piece and doing like normal our own songs, and then going into this constellation and actually doing it like this with two also screaming, and just we feel very comfortable actually in that setting, doing like these collabs and
Right.
Yeah.
And us not having to play
Yeah.
at the same time and manage that, but just be in the
actually
sound.
just
right?
realize that
Yes.
this is something that really refreshes the whole setting of us
Yeah.
as well, to do something like this, and with Meejah as well, doing the collabs, that this is kind of HIRAKI doing stuff like this. It's not just being a normal band writing songs and throwing an album out. It's doing stuff like this.
And also, to be honest, for the past 2 years, this has been equally HIRAKI as to us, the three of us playing, because we
If
haven't
not
had,
even more,
we haven't had the
actually,
time
yeah.
to do that, right? We focus so much on this,
Yeah.
and also on the collab we did with Meejah.
Yeah.
So that's HIRAKI has actually turned into something else.
Yeah, and it's something that we thrive a lot in actually.
Yeah, definitely. And it's because we do that.
Yeah.
For you it's a bit different because you have more intimate song, you have more symbology into that, and Shadow Walker, I'm not sure if I want to even try to guess what it's about, but you have a very symbolic type of way to express. You have a very different way to compose your lyrics, compose your music. So I believe that in your case, probably this question is even more relevant because you brought something different to Jackson, and probably you also get something out of that. So,
I think in Meejah, when we play, I use my voice also in a big range.
yeah.
From whispering to rapping to clean vocals, and then also scream vocals. So I sort of brought all those different steps of using my expression and brought it into the John Cxnnor universe. Besides that, we go to a lot of metal shows together.
Okay.
And Andreas also plays even harder music than John Cxnnor in itself.
Yeah.
So I know Rasmus and Katie also met us and have seen us at different metal gigs. So even though our music is more ethereal, post-rock, post-experimental, there's this undercurrent of metal in it.
Yeah.
And in our collaboration, we are even more bent in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
direction.
Yeah, we're enhancing some of those.
Yeah. So I always think that two poles of something very heavy and something very airy makes interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed, and it kind of shine a lot, and it really gives this sense in the new track. Is there a story or a specific meaning in the new track that you may want to make easier or more accessible for us metalhead? That
I really try to embody Sarah Connor in that track.
yeah.
I also scream, I birthed the son of the resistance. Sorry. Interesting that you're saying that Common Cone is addressed to a certain presidential administration. Yeah. I also did another track for road band called Vega, and those two combined are also somehow addressed to another president in the world, more to the east of Europe.
Right.
Yeah, because we are in this apocalypse, doomy universe.
Yeah.
It's easy, of course, to go down that road, but then also drawing current affairs into the Terminator universe somehow.
Oh yeah.
And then get some kind of catharsis, or because there's not much redemption right now in the current state of the world, so you somehow only get the chance to do it in art.
Yeah, locally.
Voice or
Yeah, locally in Denmark we are very free talk, it's very easy, but it's always nice to have also a layer to, kind of be able to say what you want to say, but without speaking directly to people. Talking about the Danish underground, Denmark have an underground scene that for some reason always been more related to some type of punk or later on some type of rap, hip hop and so on. And only recently started to develop more toward electronics, synth, and finally industrial that always been the sleeping beauty in Denmark, right? Here, Germany across the corner, but Denmark never had a main act in industrial music, and finally maybe it's happening because those concerts have been recording so much people. So how you feel is the impact of what you're doing today on the underground of Denmark?
Yeah, definitely. Also because of who are actually participating in it, because it like cascades, so it flows down from us to our normal bands, and then onto even those who are not present on stage, they will still. I mean, I think it definitely influences, and in a good way, actually, in a more interesting way.
Yeah.
And at least to say that, let's try and do that. I mean, for instance, Universal, they have this such a beautiful like stand-up track, and then with a side chain, and it's just like maybe they wouldn't have done that 5 years ago actually, but it sounds natural, it sounds fantastic, and it's and nobody's saying, oh, that's crazy, wow, it's just a part of the hard music actually in a good way. So
yeah, and John Cxnnor has really inspired us to shake things up and take some bolder moves in our own music, and I can't imagine if it doesn't inspire others as well to do the same.
We have some of our songs more in the experimental direction that has some industrial elements to them. I think it comes from another direction, but then it gathers in the middle, and the direction is the Bristol sound and the trip hop scene from the 90s, and through also how Björk always collaborated with many producers on the remix versions of her albums. So, but then suddenly those two direction from the hardcore scene, metal scene, and then more post-rock, trip-hop, Bristol sound, and then they sort of come together over here. And that's a quite interesting thing, because I think Rasmus has thought of me because he likes trip-hop.
Right.
So
Yeah.
It is true that now Prodigy is playing Copenhagen this year, maybe because John Cxnnor opened the door last year. And I always think about that you can have hardcore both in techno and in metal, or those two directions, and then it's fun that with two hardcores.
The important thing I've learned from John Cxnnor is the community feeling, that feeling of how, I mean, that's what it's crazy that Rasmus and Ketil brought all of these people together actually under some common strive towards doing something that they might not think they had in them even, I can say for myself, right? And that inspired us at least also to extend the collaboration and say, okay, wow, how can we do something together? And now we are doing that. And
so when did you figure it out was gonna be big? Because if you had him, I knew it. As I heard it, for me it was the best industrial act ever. It was probably right, but when did you realize how big it was gonna be? So did it start as a game and then you saw it growing and growing, or there was a special moment when you say this thing is gonna be
good question actually.
I believe the great feedback we got from the Roskilde Festival gig, people of all sorts of different genres, people coming in looking like metalheads, or people normal people, sorry. Hipsters and daddies and kids, and there was
people into techno and rave.
Exactly, there was such a diverse audience that were just so happy to be there.
And also the energy, the backstage energy of people coming from something else, right? From harder music or real band music, and collaborating about this and being together about this. That was just magical. I think it was really amazing, and we still feel that now.
And
when we meet, we a lot of us, we only get together for this John Cxnnor thing, right? But it's fantastic, right?
And especially the community thing, because even though Denmark is a small country and you have kind of the metal, punk, hardcore scene that really isn't that big, but it's bigger in Copenhagen than in Aarhus, and being for us from Aarhus invited into that community and being a part of that was
fantastic.
That was really nice.
Yes, and afterwards, then you featured vocal features on some of the other bands, like the real bands, because then we could do something with him, and we could do and
felt very welcomed into that. That was nice.
But to answer your question, I think for me personally, the first time I felt this is something bigger than I have ever participated in was backstage, actually, before the concert, where Ketil and Rasmus sat us all down and just had a talk with us and just explained to how much this meant to them and how special it felt for me personally. I think we've talked about this a lot, that we were a part of this that was somehow greater than our little stupid punk rock band.
Yes,
we were a part of something bigger, and that felt very, very special to me personally.
My debut was at the Road Band Festival, which has been sort of a bucket list, far out dream. How will I ever be able to?
Just to go there.
Just the audience member, And we were there together. And I remember arriving at the main stage at Rope and Deaf Heaven were doing the sound check. We said, okay, you made Deaf Heaven. And then we went on stage. It was a huge venue, 3,500 venue size. And then we stood out on the side of the scene, and the venue was empty because it was the first gig at the main stage at the festival. And then we stepped out, and then the venue was full. You also remember that effect, and it was in 10 minutes time, and that was my debut with John Cxnnor. And I think Rasmus and Ketil are also as surprised as we are somehow, because they just rolled with it. They just arranged the next thing, and then I think they're in their project mind when they
Yeah.
you know, get everything to come together, and then when you step out on the stage, then it hits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there's so much planning and so much details and everything, just coordination and everything, and then some eventually there. Wow.
The Danish low expectations.
Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe 200 people will show up, maybe just 100,
Yeah.
or 3,000. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
No, it's nice.
Something else I forgot, or something else you like to share?
I have a thing to the community add-on to that. It's not only the community that they're creating, it's how they are helping lifting the entire scene, the entire underground scene.
Yeah.
So our collaboration, which will come out next year with Meejah and HIRAKI, we've gotten far more ambitious
Yeah.
than we would have
Yes.
been
Yeah.
and dared to dream. So, and I can see that they do it 360 degrees around all parts of the John Cxnnor project. That's a huge gift from their side. And
Yes.
maybe we don't say it till them
Please don't say that.
yeah. But
Yeah.
then it's suddenly, I think they think unconsciously about how the Danish scene can also be expanded in
Because
the
they love
international
it. They love it
context.
so much, right? Then
Yeah.
and they're raised in that scene where they know where you can take an audience of 100 people for granted, right? So it's really so it's a humble like approach towards it, I think.
HIRAKI Meejah, and very soon giving us a good performance and a full Vega for a John Cxnnor. That's your time, so keep on rocking.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.